This was a fun picture to take. This was a Wednesday morning in February, and we had a snow day where in Oklahoma, it doesn't take a lot of snow to get a snow day. And it's not because Oklahomans are wimpy and we don't understand cold. It's because we're not equipped to handle it. The town I live in has, I think, one snowplow, maybe zero. And a lot of towns are like that. We're simply not equipped to clear snow. And so you end up with conditions like this where there's probably 3 inches of snow on the ground and it's cold. And so the roads are not safe. They're not plowed. And it's just not something that we are ready to handle. If you live up north, like in Minnesota where I used to live, no big deal. This is just a regular winter day. But down south, it's a different environment, and towns and municipalities just aren't used to handling snow. And so the infrastructure tends to shut down a little bit. So that's what happened on this day. We had a snow day. This horse is actually right behind my house. You can't see my house, but this is behind where I live. There's this huge pasture. It's probably like 20 acres. And there's a couple of horses that live there. I'm not even sure who they belong to. And I've tried to find out over the years. And sometimes we'll drive past on the artery road and we'll see these horses. And it's really cool. I like living in city. Like we're inside city limits. And yet there's a horse pasture on my block. So it's kind of a cool environment to live in. And when we had the snow day, I specifically thought about taking a picture of the horses. Like this was not a serendipitous photo. I wanted to get this photo, but how do I do it? Well, we had to return some library books, and the library was still open. So I got my kids, we went into the car. My wife was actually, this is pretty early in the morning, and I told her where we were going, and I said, don't worry, you can stay here, I'll take the kids, no big deal. So me and the boys left, and I brought my D500 and 70-200 millimeter lens, knowing that we were going to drive past this pasture on our way to the library, and I did not get any photos. Well, I got a couple, but the horses were so far away that it just didn't make for a good photo. So no big deal. You try. Sometimes you don't get it. You don't get the shot, but at least you tried, right? Well, later on in the day, we were out walking. It was still pretty cold. And so we bundled up, took the boys for a short walk out in the snow, and I brought my camera with me specifically to get this shot, and I wasn't able to get it. The horses were still too far away, and I didn't want to make them come closer. Like, they're not my horses. I don't want to bother these poor animals. They're cold, and they don't need this guy like trying to wave at them to get him come over. Plus, I don't really know anything about horses. So then one more time later on in the day, I thought, it was like 11:30. We're going to go in for lunch. I told my wife, I said, okay, I want one more chance at this. And she was super supportive. She's like, yeah, let's go for it. So we got the kids, walked down to the corner, and it worked. And I'm not inside anyone's yard. I'm outside. I'm on the edge of the street here. But these horses, this one in particular, saw me and my oldest son just kind of standing there watching. So it came over to investigate. And as it was walking towards us, I focused on its head and got a ton of shots. I was shooting high-speed continuous. And this was my favorite because you can clearly see a couple things. Number one, the eye of the horse. It's perfectly sharp and it's looking straight at me or / at you, the viewer. And I really like that. Also, the front right foreleg, which is redundant, the right foreleg is lifting up and actually kicking up a bit of snow. So there's a sense of movement to this photo. There were other photos where the horse wasn't really moving and it just didn't seem as lively. In this one, there's clearly a sense of movement. I like that you can see some objects in the background and they're blurry because I shot this at f2.8. And there's just a lot to like about this photo that I've never taken a photo like this before. And I don't know what it would have. I don't know if it would have been possible without my D500 and without my 70-200 lens. I needed the focusing on this photo. The D500 can focus almost anywhere in the frame. And so because the horse's head was in the top right corner of the photo, I could focus on that. I can't do that on my D750. I'd have to focus and recompose. And by then the horse would already have moved on. So I've never gotten a photo like this, nor could I have gotten a photo like this. And this also demonstrates the value of a 70-200 f2.8 lens. When you're shooting at 2.8, you can get these blurry backgrounds like this. Another zoom lens would have had a smaller aperture and the background wouldn't have been as blurry. It wouldn't have been as interesting as a photo. So I had a lot of fun taking this photo, and I would say I hope to take more like it in the future, but it's going to be a long time before we get snow like this. And that's just how it is here in Oklahoma.